It's the Church of Jesus Christ
The transcendent moral and ethical question of our time is who and what is a human being? It impacts every issue in our society. But today, the value of human life is at an all-time low.
We do have a culture of death. Pope John Paul II was right when he talked about it, and that abortion was just the leading edge of it, that it was the beginning, that it would metastasize, and that metastasis would keep going. It went from the womb to the nursing home, to the intensive care unit, and now to the delivery room, where they're wanting to kill babies even after they're born.
As a pastor, I believe that all pastors, black, white, Latino, Asian, Native, whatever we are, should be angry. We should be pastoring angry in this time that we're in. We see the manifestation of a demonic scourge where people are being literally killed on a daily basis. At somewhere around 3,500 innocent babies who have not seen the light of day yet, but they're humans. The science shows that these children are humans.
We need to remind people that this is really a decision between people who believe in every human life having intrinsic worth and value, believing that the child with Down syndrome is every bit as valuable as is the captain of the football team. That's where we stand, versus those who believe that right up until the very moment of birth, at 9 months, that if a mother decides she just doesn't want that baby, that she can take its life. And that is, I just don't believe that thoughtful, rational, civil Americans honestly think that abortion anytime, any moment, for any reason, is a reasonable view about abortion.
The issue of life has been a divisive political issue in America for decades. And 2 years after Roe v. Wade was struck down, a majority of Americans still believe that abortion should be legal in all or most cases.
I believe there's actually a right to life in our founding documents. I think you can interpret that from the wording of our Constitution, and I think our Declaration of Independence, particularly the second paragraph, where it says that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these, the right to life. I've always thought that was a remarkable thing, that our founders, even before there were sonograms, understood that without the right to life, the other rights are sort of beside the point.
With Roe out of the picture, we are seeing many states attempt to pass some of the most radical abortion laws we have ever seen. Take, for instance, Amendment 4, which is on the ballot in Florida this November.
With the Supreme Court pushing abortion back to the states, there's two efforts by the radical extreme left, the pro-abortion, the pro-death camp. First, legislation through the state house, but secondly, enshrining abortion as a right within the state constitutions. So this is not something that once passed can be overturned. This goes into our founding documents as a state. Here in Florida, 60% of those voting in the election need to approve it in order for it to be enshrined in the Florida Constitution. It would say that anyone can have an abortion, no age restrictions, parents don't have to give approval, they just have to be notified after the fact. There's no clear definition of what time or place or term that the abortion can take place or not take place, or what medical practitioner should be involved or shouldn't.
What we've seen on these ballot initiatives is that because the electorate is oftentimes uninformed, and because the amendments are oftentimes written in such a way that you really don't know which side you're voting on when you vote yes or no, we find that the majority of these ballot initiatives, if they have an issue of understanding what it means, the electorate tends to vote yes. And so we saw that in Ohio. A lot of money was poured into the state on the left, tens of millions of dollars. They outspent the right by about 3 times, and they really got the electorate confused on what the amendment was actually calling for. and we saw that ballot initiative pass in a state that actually stands for life.
The radical left has put these ballot initiatives in 11 states, specifically on the issue of abortion, in order to spike voter turnout, and also to unravel the laws that the state legislators and governors have already passed in those states, which protect life. The ballot initiatives often paint a scenario to the voter that they could lose their rights if they don't vote for abortion, which is presented in all or nothing terms.
The left has come with just so many lies and so much misinformation that it's been overwhelming for us as pro-lifers, as Christians, as conservatives to try to counter it all.
They've been framing it as really about these exceptions. What about those horrific cases where a young girl's raped, or there's a case of incest, or can women still get treatment for ectopic pregnancies and life-saving medical care? When the national media is now telling them you can't get ectopic pregnancy treatments if that's something happening to you, when that's not the facts. So lie, misinformation, and really a radical position that they've been voting on since Roe v. Wade was overturned.
An interesting twist to all of this is that pro-lifers are often presented as the extremists on the issue. But who's the real extremist?
We are being presented by the pro-abortion side and by the media as being extremists. And so we need to work very hard to make it clear to them, to the public in general, that the real extremists here are the people that would abort a baby all the way up till the end of the 9 months for any and all reasons, and think that that is morally acceptable. We need to be relentless in pointing out the extremism of the pro-abortion forces in this country, and to point out that sadly, the Democrat Party that's always talking about how they're all about children are adamantly committed to destroying as many unborn children as possible. In fact, President Biden, after the decision by the Supreme Court, set up an emergency working group in the federal government, and its number one purpose is to make sure that in any given year we don't have fewer abortions than we had the year before.
It has never been more important for Christians to turn out to vote to protect the sanctity of human life in America.
If we believe that a baby's a child, an infant, that individual that God created in his image and likeness, shouldn't we promote laws to protect the unborn, the most vulnerable? When it says to speak for those who can't speak for themselves, I believe that's in the ballot box. I believe that what's happening with our society is so many Christians sit home and then they complain. They complain. They say, I can't believe these laws are in place. I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this has become legal. And I'll say it's because Christians didn't vote.